Hi everyone, my name is Ahmed Khan and I'm the founder and editor of Cellular. Before I begin, I want to say thank you to Alex and the CMS 2020 team for organizing the conference and for having me. For this presentation, I'm going to share a bit of an overview of the cell agriculture investment landscape and break down numbers behind it, as well as highlight the emerging opportunities in the cell agriculture ecosystem for founders, investors, and even corporates to get involved in. But before diving in, I want to share some more information about how I first got involved in the field of cell agriculture and share some more information behind cell agri. I first learned about cell agriculture a few years ago at the end of university, and I was blown away by the concept and the field. Following school, I wanted to learn as much as I could about the field, the latest news, the latest updates, company listings, and even opportunities to join the field. But I was having a problem. There was no one-stop website or tool that had all the information I was looking for. It was hard to even find out what news was still relevant at all. And that's how Cell Agri began, to be the news and market insights platform focusing on the future of food with cell agriculture. We track and promote all the different players in the field, and we share all our insights with our subscribers. One of our goals is to become a homepage for the cell agriculture ecosystem where people can come to learn anything and everything about cell agriculture, from what it is to who's involved, and the latest market insights and opportunities. I also published the first Introduction to Cell Agriculture ebook last year to further raise awareness of the field. The ebook has since been updated and is an in-depth overview of the field, from what it is and how it works to common misconceptions about the field. We also list out the different companies and players in the field as well. If you're interested in downloading a free copy of the ebook, you can visit the Cell Agri website at the end of the webinar to go and get it. Along with the ebook, one of the projects I've been working on is taking a look at the global cell agriculture investment landscape and the technological innovations required to further grow and scale the field, especially when it comes to cell-cultured or cell-based meats. And the rest of this presentation, we'll take a look at some of my research over there. But before diving in there, for those who are new to the field, I want to take a second to highlight an area of the cell agriculture that may not get too much attention. We all talk about the environmental benefits of cell agriculture as well as the public health potential and animal welfare. But in light of the devastating impact of COVID-19, I also want to highlight the food security aspects of cell agriculture as well. COVID-19 has really highlighted the need for resilience in our food supply chains to ensure people do not lack access and availability to their food needs. And cell agriculture can help that by being a way to produce food locally, anywhere and everywhere on the planet, and even in outer space. Food security has not really been a conversation topic in the US or Canada until the pandemic, but food security is a major reason why there's an explosion of interest in the field in Asia, particularly in Singapore, Japan, and across the Middle East. Without requiring as many resources like land or water, countries that rely heavily on food imports could now produce enough food for their populations locally. When I first began tracking the field a few years ago, you could count the number of players on your fingers. It was a handful of companies that seemed to be mostly based around the San Francisco Bay Area in California. And today, the field has exploded globally, and there are players all over the world working on the future of food with cell agriculture. I personally think that's incredible that we have scientists and entrepreneurs all over looking to apply their expertise into our future food system and apply their own unique angle to the field. And the pictures shown here are from product showcases from different companies around the world. And no two pictures here are from companies working on the same product in the same country. From Perfect Day's flora-based dairy ice cream, including dairy proteins, including the first ice cream launched last summer, to Memphis Meat's cell-based meatball, all the way to Olive Farm's cell-based steak, companies all over the world are doing fantastic work. I also want to highlight two players in Asia working on producing products for their local cuisine, like Shiok Meat's cell-based shrimp dumpling, as well as Hong Kong-based Avant Meat's cell-based fish maw bites. It highlights how cell agriculture can develop a wide range of products to fit cuisines all around the world. And while this is all great to see, it's also important to recognize that all these different players and companies is mostly possible due to the growing number of investments in the ecosystem. Despite the economic impact of the coronavirus pandemic this year, cell agriculture food landscape has pushed through and reached a major milestone this year. After Geltor announced its massive $90 million Series B round this summer, officially, more than $1 billion has now been disclosed investing in cell agriculture companies with a focus on the future of food. This is an incredible landmark for the field. With over $1 billion in investments, this milestone highlights cell agriculture's potential to make our food system more sustainable. In spite of the pandemic, the reality is that during the first 7 months of 2020 alone, nearly $500 million has been invested in the field. Nearly half of all investments. It's an incredible landmark and promising for what is to come. I also want to highlight that since this graph was last updated, including with the more recent funding rounds, officially more than $500 million has been invested in 2020 already. So as you can see from the graph, there's been a steady increase in total number of investments and deals in the cell agriculture field. As 2018 showed a growth of interest in the field, 2019 was a major breakthrough year for the field with 18 investments valued at about over $400 million. 2020 took that to a whole new level with now over $500 million in investments in, back in July, 14 disclosed deals. Including Geltor's funding round, 3 of the largest funding rounds for cell agriculture companies took place in 2020, from Memphis Meat's Series B in January to Perfect Day's expanded Series C round of $300 million. There will likely be more sizable investments in the field as the industry continues to grow and more companies reach their scaling milestones. So in the context of the COVID-19 pandemic, it is remarkable to see these large funding rounds for cell agriculture companies. And while it may be difficult for new startups in the fields, like in the cell-based meat space, to raise capital to get started, it does appear like investors are continuing to support and establish companies in the field that have previously raised funding rounds and are continuing to reach their milestones. I do want to add that this chart and graph does not include the company Just because it is unclear how much of their funding has gone towards the cell agriculture department. And the last company included in this end of July chart was New Age Meat's extended seed round. So this slide breaks down the number of cell agriculture food investments into acellular food companies and cell-based meat companies. While investments in cell-based meat companies have grown steadily year over year, the reality is that the large investment sizes in cell-based meats are still second to acellular food companies that have raised large amounts of capital, like Perfect Day, Clara Foods, Motif Foodworks, and Geltor. In terms of opportunities for founders and investors, acellular agriculture food companies may reflect the lower perceived risk for entering the market, such as regulatory hurdles and product opportunity. Regarding regulatory hurdles, Perfect Day launched a limited release of their animal-free dairy ice cream last summer, and earlier this year, Perfect Day announced they received a letter of no objection from the US FDA for their fluoride-based protein. By becoming the first company to bring a food product to market, Perfect Day highlights there are fewer regulatory hurdles for acellular food companies and provides a route to market for other companies in that field, possibly comparable to cell-based meat companies, which will likely face more hurdles. In regard to product opportunity, the company Geltor has highlighted how proteins can be used for food production, like collagen, can have a wide array of application beyond just food. Beyond food, collagen can be used as an ingredient in the cosmetic space, for example, and Geltor has since launched 3 products using the animal-free proteins in the cosmetic space. As Geltor now looks to re-enter the food space through collagen supplements, they highlight how acellular products can have a wide range of applications and may reflect why investors have been more interested in larger funding rounds for acellular food companies compared to cell-based meat companies to date. And I also do want to highlight on this slide the gap between the media hype between cell-based meat and the actual investments in the ecosystem that actually enable these products to come to market soon. 2019 was a big year for cell-based meat companies in terms of investments. Up in 2019, investment totaled more than all investments in the field to that point in time. And 2020 has more than doubled that. It'd be interesting to see if 2020 would be the first year, excluding 2017, where cell-based meat investments may be more than acellular food company investments. So with over $1 billion invested, the cell agriculture field has clearly been validated as a viable food system. It shows the field is no longer an idea. Cell agriculture can be done. It can become the future of food. To advance the field to the next level, there are plenty of areas that need to be addressed in the field's future supply chain. Some of these important white spaces are starting to be addressed and represent a large opportunity for new founders, investors, and even companies in the food, agriculture, and pharmaceutical space to get involved. Considering the current state of the cell-based meat industry and the focus of this conference, we highlighted the top 4 areas of opportunities for new and established companies to further explore. There are plenty of opportunities to enter the field and become a technology enabler for the future of food. From bioprocessing to product development and facility development, there are plenty of areas that will help the field address its needs for commercialization, and we need more players to enter the ecosystem to support it. For investors looking to enter the field or grow the field, supporting companies and players that will be technology enablers will help reduce barriers and obstacles for new companies to enter the field. It may not be obvious right now, but the role of technology enablers will ensure future companies will not need to raise as much capital as pioneers in this field had to commercialize and be prepared to enter the market. I also want to touch on the role that corporates can play in the future of cell agriculture and to further grow it by supporting and forming partnerships with incumbent players. Supply chain development is going to be critical for the field's success, and partnerships with established companies in the agriculture, food, and even pharmaceutical industries can help support the field's growth while helping these corporates find their own footing in the nascent industry. As the years progress, we'll likely see more conventional agriculture, food, meat, and even pharmaceutical players explore how they can apply their expertise into the cell agriculture supply chain, and we'll likely see a lot more of that in 2021. Not only will this help support new companies in the field, it will ensure that these corporations continue to play a role in the future food supply chains, or even present an opportunity for pharmaceutical and biotech players to enter the food supply chain at all. So there's still many hurdles for the field to overcome to scale, and partnerships with established industry players may help cell agriculture companies overcome them. So while it is incredible that the ecosystem has raised over $1 billion in investments, the reality is that most funding in the alternative protein field has gone towards plant-based meat companies. Impossible Foods alone, for example, has raised over $1.5 billion. That's more than the entire cell agriculture food field. At the same time, with growing interest and emerging opportunities in the field, it is the right time to enter the cell agriculture field. With more than $500 million invested in 2020 alone, investments in the field are only going to get larger. It's time to discover the cell agriculture landscape and explore opportunities to get involved, whether as an investor, founder, or a company looking to offer services or support the field. I am really excited to announce the launch of the Cell Agri Investment Report Series, a report series that breaks down the investment landscape and the key pain points in the field's developing supply chain. Cell Agri has been covering the cell agriculture field since 2017, and the report series breaks down all the research and data points that I've collected. From breaking down and analyzing how $1 billion has been invested in the food ecosystem and highlighting opportunities in the field supply chain in 15 sections, 1-5. The report series highlights how everyone can get involved in the future of food. Along with that, the report series will keep you up to date with the latest news, insights, and updates from the field for 1 year with 4 quarterly updates and reports. That way, through these quarterly updates, you'll always be up to date with the latest findings as well as the newest opportunities as they arise. If you want to sign up for a free preview of the Cell Agri Investment Report Series, feel free to scan the QR code above, or you can sign up at cell.ag/reports to download your preview of the report series. I want to thank you for taking the time to listen and hear about the present opportunities and cell agriculture ecosystem. As you can see, the field has grown tremendously in the last few years, and it's only starting. It will continue for many years to come. Please feel free to email me if you're interested in learning more about Cell Agri, as well as some of the services and resources we offer, including the investment report series. If you are an investor or corporate who want to learn more about the field, please feel free to reach out to me directly via email or on the Cell Agri website to learn how Cell Agri can help you explore the field, get involved, and make you a key player in the field's supply chain. Thank you again for your time and for having me at the Culture Meet Symposium.
Thank you, Ahmed. And I think those graphs that you showed were really the most ideal scenario of graphs that anybody can see. I mean, not just kind of hockey stick growth, but really, really exponential growth for when we're looking at 2019. And we haven't even closed out 2020 yet. So that's really exciting. I have some questions for you. And so we'll jump right in. The first being related to the coronavirus pandemic. So for a long time, the entrepreneurs have been kind of heading over to the San Francisco Bay Area, or perhaps even Sand Hill Road, so to speak, to raise money. And now, because travel has pretty much halted, do you think that more companies will actually start creating their home base outside of the San Francisco Bay Area? Because I know that there is quite a bit of food tech and cell ag companies here now.
That's a really great question. So San Francisco and the whole Bay Area has been a hub for the agriculture field for a couple of reasons. One is incredible talent there looking to the biotech space, and secondly, there's a lot of investor support to grow and support this emerging ecosystem. As the pandemic has shown, more people ready to be remote and expand outside of cities into smaller hubs that also have great biotech talent. It's possible we can see investors follow the companies over there as well and continue to support them in their incredible work. As this pandemic has shown, food security is going to be really important moving forward for everyone, everywhere. So I believe that will likely happen, where we're going to see more investor support globally as companies expand and emerge around the world as well, and to address some of these key supply chain issues for our future food system.
Great. And we talked about the idea of food resiliency, especially now that people are in kind of a somewhat of a mode of crisis. When we're thinking about cellular agriculture technologies, has it been proven that we can scale? Do we know that it will be efficient? And I guess it might be a little bit too early to give a definitive answer, but are all paths leading towards the right direction, or could there still be a curveball down the road?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question. How can we move this field from lab bench scale all the way to commercial scale? We see a lot of great companies trying to address these challenges right now, and some of the points we addressed earlier, from cell line development, cell culture media formulation, scaffolding, and bioprocessing, are all key pain points and hurdles that companies will need to address. What we're seeing a lot more of in this last year in particular is the emergence of startups looking to address specifically these pain points to help the entire ecosystem scale and overcome them. I believe we'll see a lot more of that in the future as companies will try to specialize more in their own area of expertise to help create a whole ecosystem and community around this field. So I have my fingers crossed that these barriers can be addressed sooner rather than later to help the field move forward.
So based on your investment report, are there any indications that any of these players are either preparing for potential acquisitions or even IPO? I know that you said that Just, for example, who I believe there was some news about potential IPO for Just. I know that you said Just was kind of a little bit outside of the charts because we don't know exactly how much they're putting into their cellular agriculture program. But are there any other companies that could be eyeing either some of the smaller players or some of the bigger players kind of targeting some sort of IPO?
Wow, that's a really great question. Acquisitions in this whole field. We've seen previously, and the report series highlights, corporate venture arms that are looking to the cell agriculture field, not only for their own companies, food, meat, biotech, or pharmaceutical interests, but to learn more about the field themselves, to see how they can apply their own expertise into this field. Could that mean down the line, if some of these companies mature that they get acquired? It may be possible, but at this point in time, for many of these larger food corporates, it may still be a bit more early, and they want a bit more proof of concept and validation before they go down that route. Along the idea of acquisition, though, it's interesting. I heard a few weeks ago that someone said, once acquisitions start happening between players in an ecosystem, that's how you know it's matured. Earlier this year, I believe it was a month or two ago, Israeli company Meatech 3D announced they acquired an unnamed company focusing on cultured fat production. That's the if when confirmed, that would be the first acquisition play by a cell agriculture company of another company looking at producing a cell cultured product. That's the first sign that the field is maturing. I don't think we're necessarily at that point yet where companies are going to try to acquire each other more often. We're just not there yet, but it's definitely something that could happen in the future.
Great. Yeah, definitely exciting time and a nice indication of maturity. We talked about kind of other industries within cellular agriculture outside of food, outside of meat. You mentioned cosmetics. Are we going to see biomaterials, for example, that have been derived from cellular agriculture technologies come to market before food technology or food products?
That's a really interesting question. So you're totally right there. Cell agriculture as a technology can go way beyond just food. Through cell agriculture, biology can be the manufacturing of the future. It could be a way to reproduce all types of materials. And biomaterials, for example, like cosmetics is one example. But you'll see a handful of companies also looking at cell culturing other products like leather, for example. The companies in the field like Modern Meadow, like Vitro Labs, that are exploring application of cell cultured leather, for example. And that can open so many avenues of potential. All of a sudden, instead of relying on hides for leather, you can now customize and produce the custom leather that your company and your designers specifically want with specific qualities. It's a whole new area there that can be explored. And also to address that as well, because of the less regulatory environment compared to materials than food, it definitely opens the door for materials to enter the market first compared to other food products like cell cultured meat. We've already seen something like Perfect Day enter the market with their dairy products like the ice cream and their ice cream partnerships this year. So it'll be interesting to see when biomaterial companies start launching.
Great. Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see the future of leather as well. Great. So, you have a background in bio and very well kind of versed in the space. Have you thought about creating one of these startups yourself?
Great question, Alex. At the moment, the work that CellAgri does, sharing the latest news, sharing the insights, and taking a look at the market landscape and the opportunities there, I believe that's where I want to focus my time right now. Who knows what will happen in the future?
Okay, great. And so, yeah, we definitely look forward to seeing more about this industry report. Like you said, breakdown of all the players into the space and deep dives into the investment landscape. Is there, that's the best way to contact you. Is there any other updates from your team that we should kind of put on the map or put on the radar for the time being?
Thanks, Alex. Yeah, along with my email, the CellAgri website at www.cell.ag. We have a contact us box there as well if you want to reach the team and share some of your thoughts.
Awesome. Amit, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Alex.